We've got two objectives today. I'm going to go over the Google Classroom features so you know how to use that to communicate with your students and provide feedback. And then I'm also going to give you a tour of the teacher dashboard, which is super exciting because it just launched yesterday, and Joanna can attest. It's super handy, especially right now when you don't get to nag your students face to face. You need to be able to keep tabs on them maybe a little bit closer. So I'm going to share this. I did not put the share link for Google Classroom in the chat box because this information is in the Google Drive. So you shouldn't, oops. If you want it, I guess I can get the link and just share it. But again, it's in our Drive. Flip back to my screen. Maybe not. Trying to find my chat. There's chat. Oh, it's in more. All right. Whew, paste. Joanna taught me that if you put a link in the chat before you start, that everyone won't actually see it. So I learned that. All right, good to go? These are just a highlight of what you have in Google Classroom. So we're gonna do this all together. If you're a teacher using Google Classroom, you can import assignments using the Add Student Assignments. Now, this isn't to say that you have to use Google Classroom to use CodeSpace effectively. Not everybody does. But if you're here, I'm going to assume that you either are already using Google Classroom or you're interested in learning it. So by adding the student assignments, you need to make sure that you are logged into CodeSpace with the same email that you use for Google Classroom. So this will likely be your school email. Now, for our purposes, you know, I told you if you wanted to be a student in my class today, that you shouldn't use your school email. Keep in mind that you can be a student in my Google Classroom with your personal email and still use your school email to set up Google Class for your students. You just kind of have to split your mind and think of those as two different scenarios. So we're gonna add student assignments and then confirm what class you want to add it to. When you do this, they will be added as drafts under classwork. So they'll be gray like this. This means your students will not see them until you're ready to assign it. You don't want all of these populating all at once for them to see. So this way you can just roll them out as you're ready. When the assignments are added, the title and instructions and a link will already be there. They're already included. If you choose to do points, you can add that there and a due date. For anything that's being assigned like this automatically through CodeSpace, this is just my 2 cents on it. Keep in mind, these are assignments that are very scripted. The students follow the instructions and turn them in. As far as point value for my students, I never gave them a lot of weighted points because it simply follow the instructions and turn it in. I put much more emphasis on showing mastery of learning, which is what we use the Remix projects for, which we'll talk about next week. So it was very common for me to just give it like a 5-point daily grade. Did you do it or not? But I didn't assign it a lot of point value. You can also edit any of this if you don't like what the auto generate is. Once assigned, then it'll show up. I think it's still blue.
Hang on just a second, Amber. We've got a couple of things here, and since I'm not familiar with, I don't know anything about Google Classroom, I'll go ahead and bring it up. It has said that they need permissions, and then there's also something that says I don't have that feature. How do I switch?
Okay, let me go back and look.
So the permissions, Amber, on the slide deck.
On the slide. I thought you meant Google Classroom and I was like, let me fix that.
Depending upon their domain settings, some of them may not have it turned on.
For Google Classroom? For the slides, it's because That was my fault. Okay, I fixed it.
Okay, and
Okay,
then
so Paul said, I don't have that feature. How do I switch? I'll talk to you one-on-one, Paul, and figure out what exactly that you need. Everybody's school admin has different permissions for the Google Suites.
got it. Okay.
Can maybe like a show of hands or something, or like people can turn their cameras on and just like a thumbs up if you're using Google Classroom and like a thumbs down if you're new to it, just so that Amber and I kind of know so we can support you guys in that.
Maybe I can do a poll. Nope.
Oh yeah, do that. I don't use that feature.
I set it up before. I wonder if I can do a new one. Okay, Google Classroom.
If you click on participant, then you can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down right in the chat.
And the reactions, yeah.
Okay. Now I can poll you. No, I can't. Poll to Classroom launch poll. You are all my guinea pigs, and I really appreciate your patience as we learn all these tools. Okay, so it looks like about half of you, a little more than half, are already using it, but the rest of you won't. So I have used Google Classroom for things other than just CodeSpace. So if you have any questions about how I utilize that, or if I'm talking about a feature or a part in Classroom that you're not familiar with, you can ask. Joanna, you also use Google Classroom, correct? And I believe Lois does too. Yeah, that's right. You're a Google certified.
I'm a level 1 and 2 certified educator, and I'm like one step away from being a trainer. So I just have one video to submit.
Yeah.
So
So
people have questions about best practice.
And keep in mind also, I have created a Google Classroom for all of us. So if you don't know how to do something, you can ask a question in that group, and you're going to have the minds of everyone. So that's definitely, don't just rely on us for this information. We want to work together, and I'm always learning stuff from other teachers, so I will be listening to your tips as well. So I think we're good to keep going then. Okay, so back to, we have the draft assignment. Once assigned, it will show up in classwork and stream. I definitely use topics. So I had a topic that was just for CodeSpace because I used other things in my class as well, and I wanted the students to be able to see all of those in there. So once it goes from draft to assigned, it will go from gray to blue. So this is what it looks like for you after the students have completed a project. You may recall seeing that at the end of the lesson yesterday. They may turn in their assignment, their program, straight to Google Classroom from CodeSpace. So it will be attached as student work as a doc. Okay, so you can kind of see here was one of my classes. The one that's missing, that's what's the assigned. The 0 turned in just means that everybody that was turned in has now been shifted to graded. And I can see, sorry about that. I can see all of their names and all of their work here in the screen. So just one note about the names. This is kind of a nifty little hack. If the student turns in their assignment from Google Classroom, then it has the standard algorithm where it has the student's first and last name, and then whatever the assignment was, 7.9, and then that says Game Spinner. Okay, this student, it's just called Game Spinner. Well, what did that kid do? Well, he went into the assignment in Google Classroom and attached his work from Google Drive. That's not necessarily wrong. It just means that you might have to look at it a little bit more closely, because if they turn it in through CodeSpace, you know it's correct. You know they've done every step along the way, because it wouldn't let them turn it in unless they did. if they attach it and just turn it in like this, you kind of gotta, why did they do it that way? Why didn't they just turn it in CodeSpace? Now, I happen to know that this student, he had already done Game Spinner before I assigned it, so he was not able to turn it in when he finished it. But I would always, you know, use your best judgment and decide. I know some teachers say you have to turn it in through CodeSpace, and that's just kind of their last check. So here's an example. You can see these are both Game Spinners. The programs both work. They're not exactly in the same order, but that's okay. Both of them still ran and got the check in CodeSpace. So it's still going to accept students' work as long as it's working. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Another nice feature about using Google Classroom with CodeSpace is that you can add private comments to their work. This is going to be especially helpful if you decide to use this while you're teaching virtually. One thing I would recommend, and this is just a Google Classroom thing, if you grade an assignment and then send it back to the student as graded, if they make any changes and resubmit it, it tends to get lost in the shuffle. At least it did for me, because it showed up in the graded column and I didn't know that they had resubmitted. That's something, a feature request I've asked of Google Classroom for a long time. Joanna maybe waved me down to say they fixed that.
When it depends upon if you have your notifications on and off, because if you have them on and they resubmit, then it does auto generate an email and let you know that they've resubmitted that, and then it switches the column. But if you hid in the whole assignment, like, oh, I graded all these, I'm done, then you won't like see that in your teacher stream.
Yeah, I always had a smart mailbox for Google Classroom stuff, because otherwise, you know, when you have 100 kids, you cannot deal with the volume of emails you get. So I could always go and check, but sometimes I would miss it. So if I needed a student to fix something in their code, I would just send it back to them ungraded. You can see that they still submitted it on time. I never really, I was always big on let's do this correctly. As long as my students were working hard to get things done on time, I did not take points off if they made the effort to fix an assignment and turn it back in. Because we were much more focused on mastery than just, you know, traditional grading. So you have the documentation of when they turned it in, when you sent it back to them, and you can see the history along the way. But using those comments to communicate with them is really, really helpful, especially when you're teaching virtually right now. So that's the quickest rundown of Google Classroom. Before we demo it and practice it, are there any questions? I'm gonna just check. Okay. Lois, you look like you have a question. Are you just being contemplative? You're on mute.
Did you see that they were wanting to know what the code is for the Google Classroom?
Yeah, I've got it up as soon as I share that screen. Okay, so what you're gonna do now is join my class. If I can find that screen. Okay, that is the code. If you want to just enter it, then I can read it to you. And I should back up because I remember now that at least 2 of you do not use Google Classroom. So you can get to it in 2 ways. Of course, you can type classroom.google.com, but probably the easier way is to go to the waffle or Rubik's Cube, and it's the one that looks like a blackboard. Wait, that's a different learning management system. It's the one that looks like a chalkboard. And when you get there, it will prompt you to go to join class or create class. So for this, you're going to join a class. If you decide to use this with your students, you will create a class. And if you have any more questions about that, then we can answer those in the chat. but the code for our cohort is YSFHOWM.
Amber, that code's not working for me.
Are you logged in with your school email?
Yes, I think. Maybe I should double check.
Amber, it shouldn't matter. Well, depending upon domain settings, but mine's open for teachers because I'm the domain manager and I'm getting that code isn't invalid. So do you have that code turned on? You know how you can shut it on and off
turned
on your
on.
settings?
Typically, it should be fine.
I mean, I'll try my personal too, but I
Go
was
back
getting the
to
same error.
Melissa's in.
Okay.
So I do know that each district, when you use school email, each district has their own settings as to what someone in your domain can do for Classroom.
What's the code again?
All right, let me go back and read it.
Okay.
It is YSF.
1 second. Yes.
Once again, that's YSFHOWM. Yes, thank you, Joanna.
Okay, I guess.
She just put it in the
Yes.
chat box.
Yeah, I just guess it was a school restriction. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Sarah, just 1 second. It's
Yeah,
now
we're starting to
working
get people
for me
in
as
now.
well. Hold on. Hold on a second.
And see, usually, this is why I put the share token in Google Classroom for the students to copy and paste, but the Google Classroom is always the one that they have to type in because they don't have any other way for me to send it to them. But now you can, because Joanna put it in the chat box.
So say again, YS.
You should be able, Paul, I think that's your voice.
Yeah.
You should be able to copy it from the chat box and paste it.
Okay. I was able to join with another account, now with my school account.
Yeah, and that's pretty typical.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I found that out the hard way, that
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
school has different settings. It was hard to figure that out because some people were able to get in very successfully and then other people weren't. And I was like, what is going on? So
Yeah.
I figured that out the hard way. Okay. Yes. Todd also said he was able to get in with his non-school email.
Yeah.
So generally, yeah, if you want to be a student in another class, you have to have the same domain. That's just how most schools have it set up.
Yeah.
So if you want to share anything with this cohort of learners, you can add anything in here. I haven't put any restrictions on what you can share. So please feel free to ask questions or successes or tips or hints or anything. We're here to learn from one another. So now that we have this set up, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Let me stop sharing the screen and share my CodeSpace screen. So I'm going to do this once to show you what it looks like. And you'll be able to see the assignments come up. There we go. You'll be able to see the assignments come up as a student in Google Classroom, but you'll have to do this for your own class later when you're logged into your school account. So to add student assignments, you go to Help and Add Student Assignments. It's going to pull in your classes, so you can pick. I'm going to add this to cohort 1 and click Add. And you should get a success message, CodeSpace student assignments added. And then when I go here, they're not in the stream, but they should be in classwork. I am so glad that worked on the first try.
Can you tell me what you just did on that step? Because I missed it.
Okay, so I went to, wait, just stream to classwork? I don't know if you can see my cursor. Let me.
Yes. Okay, just 1 second.
Spotlight.
I'm still on the classroom screen, so I don't know where to go from that after that.
Okay, so you're in Help.
So when you say you're on the classroom screen, is it this one?
No, the Google Classroom screen.
Did you add the class yet?
Yes.
Okay, and then click on it.
Amber, she might be referring to how to get back to make code.
Oh, CodeSpace?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because
too.
right now
Okay.
I'm on a blank classroom.
So you guys don't need to go into CodeSpace right now. I'm just showing what it looks like from my side. I'll let you do it
Oh,
from your side. in a
okay.
second. I'm just going to show it first and then let you try it.
Okay.
Okay. So again, classwork, this is what I was talking about, how they're all in draft mode. They won't all fit. You will have to click view more. So for example, first steps is what we did yesterday. If I click edit assignment, got it. You can change anything here. I'm leaving it ungraded, and I'll say the due date is today. And then again, I generally like to use topics. So I'm going to make it in Jumpstart Python and then assign. Now, you as students should see in your stream a new assignment. Okay, so that's what it looks like to your students. So the stream is chronological with the most recent item being at the top, where classwork is sorted for your students by categories or topics, which is why I use topics so that they can all be grouped together. Okay, so now we're going to do this by going to CodeSpace. So you are going to go to, oh, I got to switch my screen. Share the other screen. Here we go. You're going to go to make.ferialabs.com and log in. Now, this is where you have to decide. If you logged in with your school email yesterday, then you want to log in with that today if you want to pick up where you left off. But I'm going to show you how to submit your assignment here.
Amber, if we logged in with a different email address than what we used yesterday, then we'll probably need to use that address so that everything links up properly. Is that correct?
That's correct. Now, again, this is not a class in that I'm going to be checking your work in Google Classroom. I'm just trying to give you the full experience so you know what it looks like from your student's point of view. And if you want to share your projects with me to look over, then you can submit them in Google Classroom and I'll look at them. You do not have to do that. So it's a personal choice. All right, make.ferialabs.com. So I purposely did this. This is what happens if your students get to the end of a project and they have skipped something. It will not allow them to turn it into Google Classroom. It will say, please finish the project. Okay, so if I go back one step, I do not have a green check mark here. I do have a green check mark here. Okay, so I know I haven't done this step. So if I just fix this, and I'm going to put in the shortest one. All right, I've done some images. I'm going to do, oh, I guess I have to do music quavers or it's not going to be happy. Okay, now when I click next, now I can turn in Google Classroom assignment. Okay, so that's what I was saying. There's like that self-checking part. If a student submits something through CodeSpace to you in Google Classroom, you can rest assured that it's correct because they have to complete each step. So they'll click this and then choose a class. Now, of course, I'm not a student in that class, so I could be, and then I would see that, and then they turn it in. So if I do that, then I will start, if you want to submit it, I will start to see in Google Classroom your assignments. So that's kind of the down and dirty on Google Classroom. There's a lot more we could talk about, but I'm really trying to keep this short and sweet. And if you're writing down questions to ask me later, that's great. Again, you can email them to me, or you can just stop at office hours. Tomorrow is Friday, I think. So it'll be 3 to 4. All right, now I get to show off the teacher dashboard. Once again, there is, let me show you this, a doc in, I can find the right screen, here we go, a document in Google Drive about the highlights of teacher dashboard. So everything that we talk about is in this document, so you can go back on your own time and reference it later and read through it a little bit more carefully. Also, if you are getting your students logged in, the 3rd page is specifically for them. So you could even just take a screenshot of that and show them what to do. But again, there's this information for you after we log out today. All right, gonna go and show you the overview of the dashboard. If I can find the right screen. I got too many tabs open and I'm not sure if that's figurative or literal. I think it's both in this case. So once again, this just launched. So we do expect that we will continue to add features. We have a board where we are constantly adding teacher requests. So they will be addressed as quickly as they possibly can. But we're really excited just to have this available to you. So in CodeSpace, under the help menu where we just added student assignments, there is a teacher dashboard. When you click on that, it will come up in a new tab. The first time you do this, you will have no classes, so you need to add a new classroom. You can give the default class name and then select whether you're going to progress monitor, Jumpstart Python, or Python with robots. And I just remembered that my sample one is in a different Gmail account. So I'm going to switch and do that all over again while we answer questions in the chat bar. I was just giving you time. It was totally part of the plan. Okay. Help, teacher dashboard. All right, there's my classes that I've already added. So again, new classroom, you can create the classroom name and select the curriculum. If you've already created something and you need to edit it, you can go into the edit button, and I just did that really fast, so I'm gonna do this again. Okay, you're in My Classrooms. The edit is in the top right-hand corner, a little pen icon. You can change the classroom name. You can turn on and off join. So if you don't want anyone else to join, and if you do not like your join code, you can get a new join code. It's the same programming code that's used for the share tokens. So you all know these are supposed to be 2 completely innocuous words. Sometimes you can put 2 innocent words together and they're very dirty. And most of us teach teenagers, so you have to be cognizant of that. So if you don't like the one you get, you can do a new join code. Now, we do know that it is very cumbersome to have a share token and a join code. And it will be addressed, but I did tell them no teacher on a regular day wants to go in the middle of the school year and change a system on how something like this works, and especially not when we are all working from home and trying to teach virtually. So for right now, it will be cumbersome. They will have a share token to get into CodeSpace. They will have a join code to join your classroom, but rest assured that's already a feature that we know we will change. So that's the editor. You can just filter your Jumpstart Python class or your Python with Robots class. And then when you click on it, you will see a list of your students, 10, 25, I only have 7 students, 50, or so on. So this is where you think, do I want just first period together? Do I want just my 8th graders together? Whatever makes sense for you, you're divvying them up, whatever is going to be easy for you to remember. In the overview, you can sort by name, overall percentage, XP, or last active. So you can see if they're supposed to be logging in every day right now, are they actually logging in? For more detail, you can go on progress. And again, you can sort by name, Or for each project, you can sort by completion percentage. And here is the thing that we have all been begging for. Okay, so I'm going to look at Heartbeat, and I can see that Joanna is a slacker, and she's only completed 71%. So when I click on it, it shows me exactly which steps she's completed and not. Which again, if you are teaching virtually right now, that's like, woo. She said she called out her own daughter. Do you want to tell them that?
I did. So this feature launched earlier today and Amber messaged me right away. And so I kept saying to my daughter, why do you only have like an 80 in this category? And she goes, I don't know, I did it all. And so when it launched, I went, no, you didn't. You didn't do the last one. And she was like, oh, I hate that you're talking to the people at Furia Labs today, because she's in my Python class. So I'm like, I can see what you skipped now. And she was like, I don't like that you're talking to them. But it's pretty powerful.
Before, what I would do when the kids, usually they would get to the end and they're like, it won't let me turn it into Google Classroom, but I've done it all. And I'd have to sit over their shoulder and go back until I saw which step didn't have a green check mark. Well, now you can just see that data. So I love data. We also talked about, we're gonna offer teacher reports at some point, but if you needed to screenshot that for a parent, that's at least some data that you can share. So that's really awesome. And that is the main overview of the teacher dashboard. And I really wanted to keep this to 30 minutes and I'm at 37. So I'm going to try to stop talking and just take questions, and we can go back to video mode if you would like.
I'm not sure if Jerry saw the question, but people are asking for an IT template, like example email.
We have a whitelist document, and I'm trying to see who asked. Aaron.
It's Michelle and Aaron, I think, are going to need it.
I'm writing that down. Michelle and Aaron, I will send you the link to that. Because it is a couple. It's more than just make.ferialabs.com. All right, any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you very much. And I think this teacher dashboard is going to help a ton.
It's so awesome.
It's gotta be just
So excited.
a game changer.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like everything's kind of different right now. But what a godsend right now to have that. You know, we like to rib on Todd all year because he really has been working on it really hard. But I said maybe it was kismet that it happened like right now when everyone needs it the most and would appreciate it the most. Maybe it was just meant to be. Let's just think of it that way. Yes.
You guys have any, like, has anybody talked about how you guys are getting devices to the kids, or any challenges that have come up from teachers that are actually using it? Because I still have I don't have the devices to the kids yet, and I'm worried about what they're.
So what I did, I was lucky in the fact that my administrators gave us like 24 hours notice before they were locking down our building. And so my kids came to school and picked up their kit. But these, Amber advised when we went to Pathfinders to get these, and they're just 4x6 craft boxes for photos. And so you can break apart your Jumpstart kit in here, and then you could ship and mail these to students and work on them. And what I can tell you is for remote learning, these work great. My students have been working on their Jumpstart stuff. We'd only been working on it, I think, 2 weeks before we went into remote learning, and they're able to access the curriculum, walk through those steps even before the teacher dashboard launched, and without a problem. And I am working with high school students who have been doing Python all year long, so we're kind of using this as a review for hardware, but we've just had a lot of success with that, and my admin was just supportive, and let's have the kids sign off that they're taking it, and we'll just get it back when things are done.
Joanne is in kind of a different situation where she has enough for one-to-one.
Right.
So we are, just know that we know that that's not everybody's situation. It's going to be some of you, but not everybody. And we're looking at ways that we can address that in the future. But we're still in that flexible shifting mode, just like all of you are.
If I were to put a monetary value on one unit with that my admin contract that they're checking it out, and if they don't return it, how much it would charge? Can you tell me how much I should put about?
For a Jumpstart kit?
Yeah, for one of the kits like she had.
Okay, so I think Joanna, you have your box with you, don't you? Or is that Lois? Who has the green box? Somebody told me they brought it home. The whole, okay, so.
Oh, the whole, I don't
The whole
have the whole.
Okay, so the
But I think
Jumpstart
she's
kit.
talking per each one, like.
Yeah, I'm talking about like if the kids
Without
bring
licensing.
it back, then the admin needs to know how much to charge them.
So long story, say $50. A Jumpstart kit is $495. Yes, Jerry, thank you. That's what I was talking about. That's 10 of everything, and that's $495.
But that, Amber, that includes the licensing too. So
And
if
includes
she's
the
just
licensing.
looking for hardware replacement costs though, don't you think we could?
What are you looking for, Aaron? Maybe we just need to call you.
I think Joanna's more on it. Like, cause if I
Okay.
kind of like when they're checking out the device, there's still a monetary value that has to be put.
I would say,
Gotcha.
like if you just had to replace like just the microbit and then you downloaded your own firmware onto it and the battery pack and then the small alligator clips, and then the plastic container, I would say between 35 and 40.
You think? I would think 25, because you can get, well, yeah, maybe 30, especially with.
If you're talking about like a singular, you can't get the price point for the microbits down as well.
That's true.
Is what I have found. So I would say 35 or 40.
Yeah. Todd's saying microbits are 20, 25 on Amazon. And yeah, that's pretty true. So again, for the licensing, like if you buy a kit from us, you get a license for every piece of hardware you get. So we call the Explorer kit, the 2-pack, which is $149 and comes with 2 licenses. The Jumpstart kit is 10 of everything, and that's $495. A license is, this is one I always get wrong because I don't quote it very often. Is it 29, 30, 49, 50?
A single license is 50,
50.
and then 10 or more it comes down to 30 each.
That's what I was thinking was the 10 or more. It's like
So-
the Price is Right. If I go over,
Yeah. So in other words, if you can get a hold of microbits outside of us, and then use those because to get them from us is a little bit more expensive, not even dealing with the license. But if you get those and just buy the licenses, and then it'd be a matter of the licenses and the other hardware besides the microbits.
But I see what you're saying, Aaron. You have to have a contract probably with these students that if they check something out and lose it, this is the replacement costs.
Yes.
It took me a while, but I got there with you. So yeah, I think what Joanna was saying,
Like 35.
yeah, that's probably good. Because keep in mind that license is still yours, even if they lost all of the hardware.
I'm thinking.
Good.
So again, the license fee for one seat is $50. If you get 10 or more, it's $30. And
That's if you already have a microbit and don't need
Right.
a microbit from us.
Michelle asked again, what was the license
Yeah.
fee? So
Yeah, well,
But
I have the box of all the stuff, and I just am undoing them all. So that we were getting to the point where I was going to be doing it in the classroom, but hadn't gotten
Yeah.
there.
so you're
And
trying
you
to
can
figure out
get
a way
just
if
the
you can get it
peripherals
out.
from y'all too.
Yeah.
Yes, you can get peripherals if you have microbits. Keep in mind that these peripherals are not specific to us. They're not specific to microbit. These are standard peripherals.
The only problem that you may end up having is, because we had that too, is finding the battery packs that fit the microbit. The microbit has a funky specialty thing, whatever, and it is not as easy to find a battery pack that works with the microbit.
Joanna?
Furia Labs carries those, but unfortunately not. Well, you guys carry them as extras, but then also Adafruit carries them as well. but unfortunately they're in New York City and they're shut down because
They're
of
not
COVID
sending
right
anything.
now. So they're not shipping anything right now as far as like external battery packs.
Yeah, and we are still shipping for today. We have no notice, like all the states around us have shut down, but we haven't. Anything else? I am going to, while you answer that question, Jerry, I'm going to pull up the quick link to office hours for tomorrow because it's different.
Is that right? The 110?
Licenses for a class of 30.
Is 110? Is that right?
No.
No.
You'll have to explain your math to me. But yeah, I see Jerry said the licenses are forever.
Okay, want to know what a class of 30 would cost. Do you already have hardware, or would you need to buy everything from us, Michelle?
And we can call you too if that's easier. She has microbits.
Okay, so then $900 just for the licenses. And they're forever.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind too, Michelle, that it's how many students are logged in at once. Like, are all 30 of your kids, is that one class? Or do you have 30 kids over the course of the day? Maybe you have 15 in the morning and 15 in the afternoon. So it's how many kids you want to be logged in at the same time. So again, I can call or email you if you want to hash out the details so you can figure that out. In the chat box, go ahead.
Yeah, so are they reusable? Absolutely. It's through a Google login. So if you've got a seat and then somebody leaves that seat is now back open again. So $900 is very, very inexpensive to be able to use for, thousands of students with this 30 at a time and forever.
So then in the chat box, I've put the link for my office hours tomorrow, 3 to 4 Central. So if you're working on a project and you would like some assistance on that project, or you want me to look over your code, or you have any questions about anything we've already covered or in the future, or you just want an excuse to lock your office door and ignore your family for an hour, I will be there. Joanna.
If anybody is having a hard time with funding, Crearia Lab kits are also available on Amazon, although there would be like a delay in shipping given Amazon's current situation. But if your school is allowed to do Donors Choose, there is extra relief fund matching right now because I'm also a Donors Choose ambassador. So I'm dropping the link to that in the chat. If you need help with that, Amber knows how to get a hold of me and I can walk you through launching your first Donors Choose project and help you out with that.
Yeah, we put our kits on Amazon for the sole purpose of being available through Donors Choose, because it was easier to do that than to be a vendor on Donors Choose because they don't open that up very often. All right, is there anything else? You guys are the highlight of my day. Thank you for spending part of your afternoon with me. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Happy coding.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Great job, Amber.
Thanks, Lois.
Amber, what time are those office hours again?
3 to 4 Central.